princesses! Today I'm going to be doing another East versus West comparison, and today I'm going to be comparing the Benefit Porefessional with the Innisfree No Sebum Blur Primer. I've had the Benefit Primer for a very long time and I used to really love it, but I haven't used it in probably I would say 2 years, because as I progressed through more foundations and tried out more products, I soon realized that it's a silicone-based primer and I don't have that many silicone-based foundations, so it really didn't work well with a lot of foundations. So it's been sitting in my drawer being neglected for quite a long time, but now I'm pulling it out to review it in comparison with the Innisfree. I just realized that that's kind of a lie, because I definitely reviewed this last year, but I feel like I only used it for the month that I reviewed it and then never again since then, and I hadn't used it in a while before that. So both primers have very similar packaging, however the Benefit contains 22 milliliters, whereas the Innisfree contains 25 milliliters. Both primers have very similar ingredient lists, and they both contain a lot of silicones like dimethicone. They also look the same on my hand. They both have a yellowish beige colour, and they have the same silky silicone texture when spread out. So to test these primers, I applied each primer to one side of my face. I have larger pores on my cheeks, and I found that both primers filled the pores and smoothed my skin nicely. Although on video it is very hard to tell because the lighting makes the pores look even bigger than they are. Here is what my skin looks like close up. I also found that when I apply foundation over the top of these primers, the Benefit side definitely looks smoother in comparison to the Innisfree side. However, after an 8-hour day, I find that the Benefit primer doesn't quite last as long as the Innisfree. I personally find that the Benefit primer messes a lot with my foundations, and it makes it break down really badly throughout the day. In comparison, the Innisfree side looks just like it did when I applied it. So for the price comparison, which is very important to me, the Benefit contains 22 milliliters, and that is 57 New Zealand dollars, making it $2.59 per gram. Whereas the Innisfree contains 25 milliliters, I bought mine for $10.50 New Zealand, making it a grand total of 0.42 cents per gram. $2.59 per gram, 0.42 cents per gram. It's a pretty substantial difference. So for the Benefit, it smooths out my pores and mattifies my skin. It makes my foundation appear smoother. It does make my foundation break down throughout the day, and it is pretty expensive at 57 New Zealand dollars. And for the Innisfree, again, it smooths out my pores and mattifies my skin. It doesn't really change the smoothness of my foundation, but it also doesn't change the longevity of my foundation, and it is pretty inexpensive at $10.50 in New Zealand dollars. This is a really tough comparison for me, because at the end of the day, they are supposed to really do the same thing, but they do pretty different things. I think that the Benefit Porefessional is a great choice if you're looking to smooth out pores when you're using foundations, especially if you are going to be using a silicone-based foundation like the Benefit Oxygen Wow. That is a good silicone-based foundation if you fit the colour range. But I feel like you can only really use this for a short period of time, because it does make any other foundations break down over the course of the day, because the silicone and a water-based foundation, they just don't mix. Whereas I feel like the Innisfree is a good choice if you are looking for a really inexpensive primer and something that does a little bit of pore smoothing but nothing extreme. But this one does work well with any foundation that I put it with, so it's a lot easier to use. You just don't get as much pore smoothing as the Benefit. For me personally, I really don't prime my skin very much these days. I prefer to just use my sunscreen and my foundation or whatever I'm using on top of it. I don't really care about my pores that much. They don't bother me anymore, whereas when I was younger they did used to bother me a little bit. So in reality for me, the reason why I haven't been using Benefit Porefessional is because A, it doesn't mix well with most of my foundations, but B, I just don't use any type of primer anymore. So I actually like using the Innisfree primer if I'm not using any foundations. So if I'm just going out with my sunscreen and skincare on, it's actually a really nice product to use as more of a skincare product. So I'm using it on top of my sunscreen, so it dulls down the shine of some sunscreens, it blurs my pores, and it makes my skin look nice and matte and beautiful and natural. But this is not really a product that I recommend to use under makeup because I just don't find that it has a very big effect. Like, you may as well not be using it. It doesn't affect the longevity of your foundation, it doesn't affect the pores really, so I'm not really 100% on recommending that as a makeup primer, but for skincare, definitely it looks beautiful. So I hope this comparison was somewhat helpful. The Benefit is great if you want to make your skin look super smooth, but you really do need to use a silicone primer, whereas the Innisfree doesn't really work that well with makeup because it doesn't smooth the pores when you put makeup over top of it, but it does make my skin look naturally beautiful. So there's two very different types of usage for two very similar products. If you guys have used these products before, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below because I would love to hear about your experience with them. Again, everybody's skin type is different, so everybody is going to have a different experience with primers and foundations and skincare and all of that business. But if you are on the verge of deciding between the two primers, I hope that this was a helpful review for you. Thank you so much for watching this review, and I'll see you next time.